Hello everybody, welcome to OTHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. Today we're going to be talking about the 5th anniversary, making some predictions on what we might see. This is actually the first in a set of 3 videos for the anniversary. Don't worry about the Hokage Naruto, that's just clickbait sort of. Don't worry about it. This first video is going to be more of a what's the way to word this? Delusional approach to what we might see for the anniversary. More focused on things that I think would be cool. There is some still things I've included in there that I feel like realistically we're gonna get characters from this series, or we're gonna get content from this series, or whatever. So I haven't completely gone into the realm of madness, but this event prediction, it certainly has a lot of things that we're not going to see, and it certainly has a lot of things that I don't know, but it's more just for me, it's more just for fun, you know. I think there's some pretty cool picks in here for characters, and there's too many characters as well, I should point out, because we know roughly how long this event's going to be. There's about 3 weeks. There's more content than there should be for 3 weeks, but doesn't matter. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna talk about this event. Now, first things first, I wanted an event with a theme. If we're having fun, if we're going about it the fun way, the event should have a theme. I feel I don't like events that just got nothing going on. It's just like, oh, here's some cool stuff. I mean, I like the cool stuff, but why is it here? Give me a reason. Give me a backstory. And so the theme for this event is about leaders, and I guess the story of the event would be something along the lines of, we're rebuilding Jumputi Island. So we need leaders to lead the charge of rebuilding. I guess the hero grade units would be more like, you know, second-hand support type characters who are going to help the process along. And then the event units, other than a few here and there that are like specific counters, are going to be the sort of characters that are going to help you set other things up within the rebuilt Jumputi Island. So for the Muso or Densetsu or whatever, actually a lot of them fit this category. I've chosen one that I've chosen many times before, which is Pharaoh Atom. I mean, you know, if he comes, we summon. That's just how it is. I have to summon if he comes. And I've chosen him because obviously Pharaoh, leader, makes sense. But yeah, so many Muso candidates would fit into the role of sort of leader. I can't bring myself to not say Muso over and over again. It's the Muso or Densetsu or just, you know, like premium tier character. So many of them fit into the idea of like a leader, so pretty easy. I just had my pick, and if we're doing an event based on my preferences and things that I think would be cool to see, yeah, of course. And now this event, as I said, it's a bit outrageous. There are 5 limiteds. That's too many. For what this event is going to be in reality, that's obviously too many, but I felt like I had 5 like sort of really interesting ones. No, not 5 limiteds, I should say. 4 limiteds. And then the Densetsu. So it's kind of like 5 premium tier characters. And the reason I chose 5 is because I was kind of basing the idea for the event around the 5 Kage, hence the thumbnail. The 5 Kage from Naruto. But I realized, like, there aren't that many limited candidates from the 5 Kage beyond what we already have. I thought, oh, maybe we could get like a limited Gara or something, but I know people would have said, oh, limited Gara is going to be exactly the same as Hibari. Is he going to be green again? Is he going to be like basically the exact same sprite again? Okay, look, I didn't put Gara in, all right, but I have chosen some pretty outlandish picks, which some people will say, what was he thinking? But again, just for fun. So first limited is is Takeshi from Seikimatsu Leader Den Takeshi. I've realized that they've made a sort of habit of going back and giving certain series a bit more content than it used to have, and there was a period where that meant a new like standard gacha version of the protagonist. But at some point there was a switch where they were realizing we need to release more limiteds per event. And so all of these little ones they had planned that were like probably just going to be standard gacha, they were like, actually, if we're making a new version of this protagonist, we should make them a limited. They did it with Nube, which I was very grateful for. Why not do it with Takeshi as well? Why not? This is like end game, end of the series, Takeshi. It's a series that doesn't really get much attention in the game. Have we only got one character? No, two characters. We've got Takeshi and Bonshu. And there's actually like a big lineup of characters you could add. Like similarly to Toriko. Toriko has so many characters you can add. And there's obviously an argument that someday down the line they could do like a Shimabukuro festival and they could add multiple characters from Toriko or from Takeshi. From Build King? Probably not from Build King. But if we're talking about leaders, he is the leader master. It's easy pick for me. I know the chances of us seeing a limited Takeshi, especially during an anniversary, basically zero. But devs, if you want to write this one down for later, I would summon. I definitely would summon. And then we have Norman from The Promised Neverland. I think I've said we should get this Norman before, but obviously Promised Neverland hasn't been touched that much since it got its feature festival. I know there's a lot of series where, like, say for example, Siren or Buso Rankin, it did kind of feel like they built up to the feature festival with no real plans beyond that unless they turned out to be particularly popular, and then they're like, okay, well, if it's popular, we'll do it. But it definitely felt like, let's just get this out because people seem to want it, and we'll see for later. And I didn't really think of Promised Neverland as one of those series. I felt like Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, it was sort of like, you know, hand in hand. They were on about the same time, and I know Dr. Stone obviously went on for longer, but there was still plenty of content from Promised Neverland that hadn't been adapted, and I thought maybe they'd do something with it, and they just haven't touched it since, which is really weird to me. And I feel like at the bare minimum, an adult version of Norman, it just seems pretty obvious. But we don't have it. So I don't know if at some point we will get like a limited Ray, a limited Norman, maybe another new Emma, whatever. But hopefully they at least consider more content for the series in the future. Then we have two more limiteds to talk about. One of them is a bit more of a boring pick, and that is Momonosuke from One Piece. Unfortunately, I decided to add him simply because I think it is inevitable we get One Piece content. It's not guaranteed to be a limited, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And they said there will be a transforming unit during this anniversary. And seeing as they keep going back to Wano, I wouldn't be surprised to see him here. Honestly, Wano has a lot of characters that fit transforming. I know some would argue, we already got Luffy transforming. Yeah, but we don't have a limited transformer from One Piece. And I think like other series, okay, maybe they would only get one transforming unit, but it's One Piece. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got another one. I know a lot of people are hoping for like transforming units for maybe like Vegeta or Trunks from Dragon Ball, or like moving on to new series that don't have one yet. But this was like one of the few crumbs of realism I left in there, because I do think a transforming unit is probably going to be from a super popular series, and I wasn't really sure on which series I wanted to go to. I think one of the ones I was considering was like Ichigo. It doesn't really fit so much with this theme, but like Ichigo, like Dangai Ichigo, and then he transforms into Mugetsu. But I think that's pretty much like, if we ever get like Muso equivalent for protagonists, that's pretty much the last Ichigo you can do, because we've done everything else. So probably they're gonna save that. I mean, I guess they could go back and do like his first Bankai or whatever, but we're trying to, you know, talk realistically here. For the 5th anniversary, seeing a limited One Piece unit, it's not that strange. But this next one, I think, would be really fun. It is Darky from Hoshin Engi. Now, Dark Heroes, as a concept, it hasn't really died per se. I mean, the events, we haven't had a Dark Heroes event in I don't know how long, but every so often we do get like a standard gacha unit or a limited unit that is just a villain or a quote-unquote dark hero. And you know what? Like, if it's not off the table, if it's still an option, Darky is definitely one I would like to see. I would be very happy to see. This is like from the fight just before the Joker and Fuki stuff. So why not? Why not? And if we're talking about great leaders, all of the characters I've chosen so far do fit the well. Momonosuke, some people would argue, maybe not, but he is a leader nonetheless. And that's my limiteds, and I'm pretty happy with those picks. Obviously, we're not gonna get 5 god tier premium units, but they have been giving out a lot more limiteds, and you can't completely rule these things out. But again, we're just having a bit of fun. So now moving on to the standard gacha units. I've put 5 here. I don't think we're necessarily going to get 5, but my idea was that we would have 5, and we would have 1 on each of the limited banners. There wouldn't be 1 on the Densetsu banner, and that would be like a boost unit. There's almost always a boost unit for the anniversary. They really love doing that stuff, having like a standalone standard gacha unit that's going to make the farming a lot easier so the whales come and summon. So let's go through the heroes, I guess. First one we've got is, again, my delusions. I've got a character from Hinamaru. Now, as I mentioned before, I was looking for the heroes to be sort of like support type units that would help the leaders. And if you've read Hinamaru, this character spends a lot of time on the sidelines due to health issues. Cannot wrestle early on in the series as much as he would like to, and instead takes the role of sort of like the team captain, or the manager, I guess, and is helping the club through. So perfect pick, I think. Hinamaru hasn't had content in ages. Realistically, when it finally does get more content, it's just going to be a limited Hinamaru. But devs, please, please. And then next up we have Sai Nanami from Dr. Stone. If you're not familiar, relative of a character we received at the end of last year, Ryusui. And he's like a math genius, so obviously he'd be great use to the leaders. But also, Dr. Stone does seem to be like not on the tier of like obviously Dragon Ball, One Piece, whatever, in terms of the devs' favorability, and not quite at the point of like Black Clover, but it's not that far off. Like, it's already had 2 feature festivals, so the devs obviously do rate it. They obviously do like adding content from it, and it even had like a mini thing for like was it the 3.5 anniversary, where like a bunch of Dr. Stone stuff got added, even though it was a half anniversary. So it's like had 2.5 events, which is pretty big. So getting more Dr. Stone content would not be a surprise, and I'd be happy to get Sai. And then the last one from this set is Mei Hatsume. My Hero Academia, I think it's had 3 feature festivals or something like that. It's super popular to the devs anyway. I would not be surprised to see more My Hero Academia content. We are having a sort of like My Hero Academia reprint thing right now, and I assume that's because of the like, you know, All Might is on right now, and I guess they kind of wanted that in the background while the current event was running, in case people weren't interested in the current event. They could still hop on for the My Hero Academia stuff. But that stuff's all going to be over by the time the anniversary starts. So I don't think that's necessarily indicative of anything we're going to get for the anniversary, especially because if they were like trying to tease what series was involved in the anniversary, they wouldn't be using My Hero Academia, because that's like the series that got a densetsu with the last anniversary. So they're not going to do that again. Might get a limited, sure, might get a hero, might get an event unit, but don't think it's likely that we see a densetsu from My Hero. But certainly Meihatsume, Tech Wiz, definitely someone you would want on your team if you were trying to help well, rebuild the island or whatever. So very, very good. And then two more. We have Sael Aporo, again, technically a villain, but if we're allowing dark heroes, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bleach unit. It's a pretty common thing, and they do seem to like to sprinkle Bleach in. It doesn't, because it's had a feature festival. I don't know if it's had one every year, but it's had like 3 or 4 definitely, and then we've also had like little sprinklings during anniversaries and during crossover events and stuff. So Bleach's got a stacked roster, and I do feel like certain arcs have just sort of been brushed over, and the Arrancar is definitely one of those. Like, we got like a really early version, like we got Grimjo as like a transcendent class unit. We got like Nell was like essentially a transcendent class unit, like some farmable event type thing, and they haven't really done much more. I mean, technically I guess we got like a couple, like we got Aizen, yeah, we got Gin, yeah, we got Tosin. I don't know which version of Tosin was, but I assume it was that arc. I can't remember. But generally speaking, you know, we never got Stark, we never got Barragan, we never got Noitora. We did get Haribel, which is nice, but like they didn't touch this arc as much as I would have liked, because there's some really cool characters that, I mean, I'm not even talking about just event units. Could have been hero grade units like I'm showing here. And Sael Aporo is a genius, so of course he would be very useful to us. And next up we have Shikamaru, and I think if from the set of units I showed here, I think Shikamaru would be like the boost unit, and they'd make you go to 5 multis to get yourself Shikamaru, because he's very popular. But I feel like in basically the version of Shikamaru you would have made into a limited was already made into a standard gacha unit ages ago. I don't feel like the Boruto one would be a limited. So then this isn't the first time they've done this, where they've just kind of screwed themselves over. I mean, it can't be helped, you know. They didn't have the foresight that this game would go on for this long, and that they would introduce characters that later they'd be like, damn, that should have been limited. Or even, in some cases, damn, that unit should have been a Musa or a Densetsu or whatever. So it's a shame, but I think a new standard gacha Shikamaru, give us the Boruto one. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that works. And if he's the boost gacha, then people are going to go 5 multis for him, and he'll boost the drops on whatever stage. Moving on to the event stuff, as I mentioned before, some of these units are pretty much just straight up counters for the limited / densetsu, but there are other characters that sort of have a role in this event, fitting in with the theming. So, first up, we have Ando Jinichi, which is sort of the last big bad from Seikimatsu leader Den Takeshi. By the way, you can read this series online. It's like all translated, I think. And there might be some missing chapters, but a lot of it is translated and actually in surprisingly high scan quality. If you did want to read it, the option is there. And yeah, kind of has to be included if we're going to have Takeshi from that part of the manga, so no brainer. With him, we have a farmable Taikabo. Now, this is a bit of a, maybe not a controversial one, but maybe not the best choice. I wanted Taikabo, a free Taikabo at some point. We already have 2 of them that are standard gacha. Fuki is a Muso, but Hoshinengi doesn't have limiteds, and Taikobo doesn't have a limited. So this version of Taikobo, who is using the same super power pay as Fuki, it's just before he fuses and becomes Fuki, that arguably should be a limited. But I felt like Darky was the more compelling character to make into a limited. Taikobo already kind of gets to shine as part of Fuki, so I went with Darky as the limited. But arguably Taikobo probably should be a limited as well. But this would be a very cool catastrophe class stage. And in my dream world, all of these characters would get aura costumes, which the devs don't really do much of anymore, but it would be nice if they did. And then we have Bandit King Bakura, which is obviously it's the only possible character we could line up as a counter for Atem. And again, aura costume, please. And then let's move on. I think we're gonna get past the counters here soon, so let's. This one is not a counter. This one I put in just for fun. My idea for this stage was that we've got all of these characters that are trying to help out in rebuilding Jumputi Island. But I like the idea that we have one character that's not trying to help out, and that is Hasegawa, who is trying to build a pachinko parlor. And as we are trying to make a prosperous island, rebuild it in a proper fashion, we have to stop him. So not only does he not get added to the game again, but we will instead add a farmable Shinpachi to the stage where you are beating Hasegawa's ass. I think that would be pretty good. And look at me adding Gintama content. Crazy. Then we have Emma. This is obviously Norman's counter. A free-to-play Emma would make a lot of sense because we already have a standard gacha one. We already have a limited one. So why not a free-to-play one as well? This is kind of an in-between version of Emma. This is after Goldie Pond. This is before final arc nonsense. So this is one that probably wouldn't be represented in the game. But as a free-to-play unit, I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to see it. And it still leaves us room if we want to go back later and make another limited Emma for the final arc. So, pretty cool. And then the last counter, I believe, is Hiyori Kazuki. Already finished, but not added to the game yet. We know that Hiyori was added on the Taiwan server. So if you were going to add Momonosuke, then Hiyori is the obvious counter because she is already finished. Easy peasy. Then we've got some more characters that sort of fit the theming. So we have Haru Mido from Kochikame. Do you know how long it's been since we last had a Kochikame unit? I was thinking that maybe we could get another feature festival at some point. I mean, there's plenty of content that hasn't been added from it. It's such a long series. But even just little units here and there, I feel like would make a lot of sense. Now, the reason Haru is here is because our new island is going to need some sort of law enforcement, police officers, somebody to keep idiots in check. And so, yes, of course, Haru Mido can be added. And I actually really like the Kochikame sprites, the way they look like in-game. So I'd like to see more, and I'd like to see what the newer, more updated art style would be. Because it's been a while since they were added. And the artists have got significantly better since then. So I'd be interested to see what she would look like. Then we have Kami from Dragon Ball. I didn't want to completely forget Dragon Ball for this event, but I didn't really know what to add from it. So I figured, you know what? You could build a shrine and you can have a god. You want your new little town, you can have a god. Why not? And it's a bit weird to me that we haven't had Kami. Obviously, he's not really an offensive type character. He's more of a supporting role in the series. But, I mean, classic Dragon Ball just hasn't been touched that much, so it is what it is. And then we have Makoto Teruhashi from Saiki. What, more of a side character from Saiki, but again, this is just for an event unit. I didn't want to use anyone too important to the series because I'm still hoping and praying that the devs have plans for a Saiki Future Festival at some point. So I chose Makoto. This is is it Kokomi? This is the other Teruhashi, the brother of the one we already have in game, and I would like to see him added. You know, he's an actor, so he can be sort of our entertainment for our Jumputi Island. I'd like to see what the Saiki sprites look like in the more updated art style. It's a bit of a shame that Saiki, I don't know, they released Saiki and then they were like, oh, we'll do like the cross-dress Saiki, and then they had a few Saiki units here and there, and then they're like, oh, and we'll add like a new version of Saiki. And at a certain point I was looking at it, I was just like, you're kind of like, are we gonna get a limited Saiki at any point? Are we gonna get a feature festival at any point? And they just haven't touched it in ages. And I'm feeling a bit like the devs have maybe decided they don't have any plans for it. But I'm really hoping that's not the case, because there's a lot of good stuff there. And it's going to look really nice in the newest art style. Then our final set of characters. That was a lot. This is a lot of characters. Like, I'm not going to lie. This is not happening. But this is just some characters I would love to see. Let's go through them. Let's start off in the middle, actually, because the middle is the Legend Summon, the 5 Kage. Obviously, the theming of the event was based around the idea of this, so why not add the Legend Summon? I do think at some point we should get a limited Gara. As for the other characters, I mean, the fact that A was downgraded, well, I say downgraded, but, you know, the fact that he was added as an event unit, and Tsunade never got a limited. She was a standard gacha, even though she was limited on Taiwan. And then, I don't know, I just feel like they've done the 5 Kage a little bit dirty, because they're supposed to be pretty strong. I don't know if they're going to add these at some point as maybe like standard gacha or something, but I mean, we haven't had a Naruto Feature Festival so far this year. Normally we would have it in January, so I don't know what the plans are for Naruto moving forward, but I guess we'll see. But at least a Legend Summon is not a big deal, right? So hopefully that can be added at some point. And then our last 2 characters, we have Setsuno from Toriko. Toriko fans might not be happy about me downgrading Setsuno to an event unit when arguably should be like limited Densetsu Muso tier. But my counter argument would be the devs do not respect Toriko. I'm sorry, they just don't. And the fact that they gave us that like limited Toriko and they were like, this is like the guy, this is the guy. To me, that was the sign that they were thinking, so we're done with that now, right? Like, they maybe had like Zebra Layan and that's it. But no, I hope they do add more content. I hope we do get a feature festival at some point. But sorry, like Setsuno is going to be an event unit. I can't see Setsuno getting limited tier. I can't see her getting Densetsu Muso tier, certainly. Maybe Hero Grade unit, I don't know. But for those that don't know, obviously Toriko, she is a chef. And we're going to need chefs on our new little island, of course. And the last character is Wing from Hunter x Hunter. I feel like there's not going to be many opportunities to add Wing because he's quite an important character in the series in terms of, you know, setting things into motion. But realistically, he doesn't play that big a role in the whole story. And there's not going to be many opportunities to add him. So I figured, why not add him here? He can be our sort of tutor / mentor for Jumputi Island after the rebuild. And that's it. That's the event, the first event. And obviously this event is, as I mentioned before, absolutely delusional. It's never going to happen. But if you did get this lineup of characters, how would you feel about it? Leave a thought in the comments for me, and let me know, who would you have changed? Because I have a feeling people are going to have some arguments about certain characters being different rarities and certain characters not being there at all. But that's it for this video. We'll be back with another one very soon, and until then, see you guys next time.